So welcome to today's conversation. In the world where everyone is trying to chase the American dream, my guest here decided to chase the African dream. I know that is a statement some of you may not want to understand, but we'll get to understand it when we continue with this conversation. She decided to leave the pressure that comes with living in the US, the social segregation, the racial profiling, the ethnicity crackdown that is happening right now in the United States of America at the moment. She decided to live on her own terms, to build her life on her own terms, and to seek her spiritual journey. That and more is going to be answered through this conversation. Welcome to today's conversation, thank you for honoring my request. Introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. My name is Rochelle. I'm an African American. I've been living in Kenya for the last year. I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. After serving in the U.S. military, in the U.S. Navy for 7 years, yes, as a medical assistant, I decided to start my own business and be an entrepreneur. And I've been traveling and living abroad for over 13 years. So I was living in Brazil last year, and I just felt like I wanted to return to the continent and immerse myself in African culture. So that's why I'm here now.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah. What was your reason as to why you decided, you know what, I'm gonna leave the America and come to settle here in Africa, especially Kenya?
That's actually quite the long story, because my first time living abroad was when I was 18, living in Italy. I was living in Europe for 3 years, and when I returned to the United States, I just didn't feel like it was the right fit for me anymore. So I started traveling through Latin America, and while traveling through Latin America, I was able to connect with the different African diaspora cultures and ethnicities, you know, in the Americas. And especially living in Brazil, Salvador, Brazil, which has the highest population of Black people outside of Africa, I was fully immersed in African culture without even having to touch the continent yet, you know? But that made me yearn to immerse myself in African, you know, culture more. So I would say my experience living in the diaspora and traveling throughout Latin America influenced me to go to Africa and say it's finally time. So I was living in Brazil last year, and I decided that I wanted to travel to Africa and visit Africa for the first time. So about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I dropped down in South Africa, and I backpacked from Cape Town to Cairo. Yeah, and that included Kenya as well. I was also looking for a second home because I felt like it was time to move on from Brazil. But yeah, so Kenya resonated with me the most, especially Nairobi, because it's a well-rounded metropolis, and I felt like it had great potential to, you know, be focused on my career also.
Yeah, and suit maybe your identity and everything that comes with it.
Yes.
So what was your first impression when you decided, you stepped down in Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to be precise?
Well, I didn't go through the airport actually. Plot twist. Remember, I was backpacking.
Yeah.
So I actually took a bus from Dar es Salaam to Mombasa. It was about an 8-hour bus crossing the border. And so my first city was Mombasa, and the first memory that I have was when the bus got on the ferry, and I just saw the bus floating on the water, and I was just like, what is this? So the ferry takes you just across the other side of the water, which is like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, so that was really surreal. I'd never seen that before. But another thing that I really loved about Mombasa was, at least northern Mombasa, was the Black beaches, seeing all the families on the beach, enjoying the beach. It was like really a special memory to like see so many Black people enjoying the beach, because that's not very common to see around the world. You know, even like in Tanzania, there's not only Black people on the beach. You know, it's an international destination. So that was like a unique memory I had.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Just experiencing that people are just enjoying their natural resources.
Yes, exactly.
At the beach, and the huge population was there is people who looked like you. So that was something that fascinated you at the point.
Yes.
Would you mind taking us through, you know, how you adjusted and how you get to cope up with everything the first 1 week or 1 month, the moment you decided, I'm gonna look for apartment here, and I'm gonna start my life over again over here.
Yes. So I had been backpacking throughout Africa for over 3 months, and I still had my apartment in Brazil. So my life was still in Salvador, Brazil. So I had to fly back to Brazil to pack everything up and, you know, wrap everything up. And I had decided to move to Nairobi, Kenya. I have a dog, so I had to import my dog.
Okay.
That was a process. And I decided to just live in Airbnbs while I just familiarized myself with the area. And so I was hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb. I was in like Nairobi West. I was, you know, just where Lavington. Yes, and then I did settle in Kileleshwa for a few months. But for me, Kileleshwa just didn't quite feel like home. It was just like the hustle and bustle, even the fumes. Like, it didn't feel like home. So I continued my search until I found my apartment in Syokimau, which I really love. And yeah, I feel like it's perfect for me.
Because, you know, when you talk about Kileleshwa, I know it's a very, you know, luxurious and affluent neighborhood. So a lot of people would decide, you know what, when I come to Nairobi, I might decide to settle in Kileleshwa, Kilimani, or Lavington, but that one didn't suit you.
Yeah, not quite. Like, I love to go down there with my friends and to, you know, have fun, but I also love coming home. That's like a little more quieter. Yes, I have a view of the national park. It's like my oasis away from the city.
So you are seeking somewhere that is more natural, it's peaceful, and gives you that freedom that you know you really want.
And like also that still has comfort, because my estate, it has a lot of amenities and still that comfort. It's like almost like its own mini city.
So it's, I know how, I have been to Syokimau, and I know how they do construct their houses. They have even a supermarket, a barber shop. And, so would you let us know how did your family and friends react when you decided, or you told them that, you know what, I'm done with the state, I'm done with Brazil, Salvador, my new home is Kenya? How did they react about that?
So I've been living abroad for over 13 years.
Whoa, so they're used to that.
I think they're generally used to it, but I think when I was traveling in Africa, telling some people, I did get some interesting reactions that I didn't even really expect. And yeah, it is like interesting. You never really know exactly how people feel or think until you're in Africa traveling and people are making comments and you're like, no, that's not true. What are you talking about? But yeah, I would say they were generally supportive. And then I told my dad that I was living in Nairobi, Kenya, and he was like excited for me, you know? So yeah, I would say they're generally curious. They ask questions. They're learning a lot. I think that's also an amazing part about my journey. I get to teach my family the truth, you know, about my experience. Like, and my dad has been surprised when I teach him about African culture and our roots and Kenyan culture. And so that's like an honor for me to be able to uplift my family and educate my family as well.
So on that note, when you said about teaching your family about the African culture and some of the things that they didn't know and they are getting surprised, is there a certain, do I call it a stereotype or a certain perspective, how when you're in the state you view Africa, or when the word Africa is mentioned, there is a certain picture that is painted around you? Would you mind telling us or taking through us that picture?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad's best friend was a Ghanaian pastor, you know, so I was kind of in proximity to African culture, especially West African culture. But even growing up, there was a bit of tension. There was a bit of a divide that I didn't understand when I was a little girl, you know, but I definitely felt the energy. So there was like that tension and stuff that was going on a little bit. But as I got older, in like my late teens, early 20s, I decided to educate myself. I felt like there was just so many missing pieces that didn't that didn't get explained to me in high school, that didn't get explained to me even by my family. So I started doing my own research and reading books like Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, The Miseducation of the Negro, you know, the autobiography of Malcolm X, you know, and that's when my journey really started, like unpacking everything that was taught to me and re-educating myself.
That's because I'm trying to get this picture whereby when you're seated in a history class in the state, and all these things are not taught to you, or you're just being told, oh, whatever happened in Africa was just slave trade.
Yeah, they covered it very briefly, you know, because the powers that be are not going to take full accountability for the atrocities they committed. So they gloss over it. I barely remember hearing anything about the transatlantic slave trade in high school and school.
I would love to go there and sit in a history class and get to see what they are being taught.
Yeah, and like even African Americans now, like our history is being erased from history books. Even there are some history books that are trying to say that like Africans just immigrated over to the United States instead of the transatlantic slave trade. And it's just so much information and it's dangerous, but like they don't want to teach what really happened.
So there is a disconnect from the reality to what is being presented to you.
Yes, because they're trying to erase it, gloss over it, sweep it under the rug, because what they did was like horrific, and they don't want to tell the world, you know, exactly everything that they did, you know, to Black people around the world.
Would you phrase it or say that you coming back to Africa and tracing your roots, you are maybe trying to connect to what has been disconnected to you, and you're still on your spiritual journey of getting to understand where you come from?
Yes, I would say I'm definitely trying to put the pieces together and just almost like catch up on lost time, because I feel like this stuff should have been taught to me as a little girl. I think if this was taught to me, even racism was taught to me when I was a little girl, I would have grown up a lot less confused. But like when I would experience racism, I didn't understand that it was racism as a little girl. So I was just confused. Like, why are these people treating me like this? Why are they doing that, etc. So like you never really, you know what you're missing out on until you educate yourself.
You never know what you're missing until you educate yourself. That's a good phrase, by the way. Yeah. What? How do you feel? How have you found your peace or your ground? Especially right now, you're living here in Africa for a year now, I guess.
Yes, I find my peace in knowing that I'm making a positive impact with bridging the gap between the diaspora and the continent. And I guess also my peace is the life I've built here, like even my apartment, watching the sunset, looking at the national park, like that gives me an immense amount of peace as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, these things people be like, you know what, people in Africa, they don't have such nice houses.
There's a luxury.
They swing from trees to trees. I have been asked some very, 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 like, we call them stupid questions or ignorant questions. Like, how do you manage to move around? How do you live in houses, or do you walk around with lions or something of the sort? So I find it so ignorant at some point. And that's why we do what we do, so that we can try to show the world that, you know, there is another world that is not seen outside there, and especially you guys coming here and also appreciating the fact that, you know, there is some disconnect that has been happening over and over the years, and I didn't know about this. Like recently I saw a video that was circulating on the internet whereby people were saying that, you know, as much as they are African American, they are saying they're not Africans. And the food that, you know, like cassava, like whatever, what do they call it? The cassava, the cocoa, the gari. People say that it doesn't come from Africa. It comes from the US. How would you make people who have such a mindset get to understand that Africa is rich, Africa has everything that you really want, or that the world survives on?
Yes, I would say that Africa is the future, and it is just something that people have to experience for themselves, because I do believe that being a descendant of Africa, having African DNA, it is an honor, it's a privilege. And I do think that people that deprive themselves of that and deny their roots or shy away from their roots are robbing themselves, you know, of really connecting with a part of their history. It's like, you know, facts are facts. It's a part of our history. I think that in the diaspora, our cultures are valid, you know, the cultures that we've built over the last 400 years, but our roots are in Africa.
When you talk about the culture, and there is, we Africans, we have, you know, our standings, our customs, but would you let people understand what is the American culture?
Yes. Well, I would say I can't speak for American culture because it's called the melting pot for a reason. You know, there are so many ethnicities. There's Chinese American culture, Italian American, Mexican American, African American, you know, Jamaican American. Like, you know, when people immigrate to the United States,
they bring a lot.
And so I would say, as an African American, we've been living in the United States before the Constitution was even written, before the country was even founded, over 400 years. So we are an integral part of American culture, even though we don't get the recognition or the credit that we deserve. Of course, we even fought in the wars that led up to the United States even being able to found itself. Like, you know, black soldiers were fighting before the United States became a country. So I would say for Black American culture, our culture is the culture that we've developed over the last 400 years, you know, when we were stolen from our indigenous land. I think that epigenetics is very real. You know, you can store culture in your DNA, and I think that we have remembered a lot of our culture and integrated it into our lived experiences over the last 400 years. So I would say American culture is general, it's broad, but each ethnicity also has their own culture, including like African American culture.
So guys, don't worry about the background noise. We don't know what is going on. I think maybe there is a celebration or maybe a football match that is going to happen. So if you hear that background noise, please bear with us. So let's proceed. How have you been accepted as an African American, you know, woman living here in Kenya?
Yes, I do feel very accepted. I would say I have been settling in more and more. You know, I have a US-based business, and so I have a digital nomad visa here, which I've been hiring employees and like networking and collaborating, which is great as well. And I would say majority of my experiences are great, but I think of course there's going to be ups and downs when you're adjusting to a new continent and a new country.
What's the difference between, you know, the lifestyle that you are used to when you are living in America and the lifestyle that you're living here in Africa?
Yeah, it's been about 6 years since I lived in the United States.
So
I think for me it is like a bit different. I guess since I have been living abroad for like 13 years, of course I remember like my experiences growing up. So would you like me to compare it to where I lived last, or the last time I lived in the United States?
Generally, you can give us a broad picture on that.
The last time I lived in the United States was 2020. So everybody was going through it.
COVID,
but I would say like 2019, I would say it's a kind of a hard question to answer because I had left my medical assistant job. I was starting a new career in 2019, and then 2020 I left the country. But even like before, I would say when I was like living in Chicago, I would say life was good. Like life was decent, but I was ready to travel again. You know, it's like I was working a 9 to 5 plus overtime, you know, grinding, you know, but I still felt that desire to travel and live abroad again.
So you're that wild child who be like, you know what, I wanna get the check, the next check, the next check, and then boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
How do you find the community here, or the community togetherness compared to, you know, where you have lived previously?
I would say for me, Yeah, there's definitely more community aspects here. Like, that's undeniable. In the United States, I would say it's really a case-by-case basis. For me, I didn't grow up like very interconnected with community. It was like mainly me and my dad. My dad is a nomad of sorts.
So you
I
took
get
after
that.
your dad,
Yeah, I get it from my daddy. So, he had that nomad lifestyle in his blood, and then I just became like a carbon copy of him. And so we were kind of like floaters, growing up. And I guess that influenced my lifestyle today. But yeah, I would say the community is definitely more connected here. Like, people really depend on each other. People really value family here, which is one thing that I've really noticed, which is amazing.
Are there some misconceptions on? Are there some misconception and myth that has been ingrained in the American society about Africa and its own community?
I would say that's a good question. I personally, are there misconceptions related to like the African lifestyle and community?
Yes, and misunderstanding. Let's say say misunderstandings, because here people be like, okay, we are family. If you have problem, I can just knock to my neighbor's door and ask for help, or something of the sort.
Yeah.
Like, I know there has to be like some misunderstanding, because I know from the state it's like, oh, I mind my own business, I can or maybe I can stay in a neighborhood whereby I know nobody.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like, it really varies, because even in Nairobi, I don't think most people are knocking on their neighbor's door.
Of course, yeah.
So I think that people do have an image of, like, I think maybe being able to lean on people. Also, polygamy.
Oh, polygamy.
Polygamy.
Okay.
There's that thing that is like kind of related. Like, I think when some people think of African culture, they inherently think of polygamy.
Okay.
Or so maybe those type of things is something that's misunderstood. Yeah.
Were you surprised when you come here and you find that polygamy is something that is legal or something of the sort?
No, I wouldn't say that I was like surprised, because like I said, I had heard about it, every time in relation to Africa. Like, in relation to Africa, you hear about polygamy. So it wasn't a shock. But I would say it does seem like some people don't really practice polygamy exactly. It's more of like a side chick culture. It's like, it's a side chick culture. It's not polygamy. Like, that's what it seems like.
Wow. Are there some legal and are there some things that people need to understand legally before relocating from the States and settling here in Africa? Or have you faced some of those legal challenges when trying to navigate around, finding an apartment, maybe trying to register the nomadic business or something of the sort?
I would say finding an apartment is extremely easy. Cash is king.
Yeah,
if you have cash is king.
That's all,
Yes, but I would say in relation to Kenya, it was shocking to find out how much the residency visas were and the residency process. Even in South Africa, I had looked into the residency process, and it's known for being really, bad. It's expensive, unorganized, and so that has been one of the biggest hurdles trying to live, on the continent compared to like Latin America. In Latin America, I can get residency for like $100 in some countries. It's a streamlined process, and it's pretty straightforward. Everything is clear. Everything is most things are online. So like, the writing is on the wall. Like, but in Kenya, it's like very enigmatic.
Ooh, okay.
It's a $10 word. Enigmatic. So it's like, it's a gray area. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
That statement has been said over and over again by African Americans who have met, like, whenever you need to do something, you need to know someone who knows somebody, and there is always a back kick whenever you're trying to get a certain service. Have you experienced that, or have you had to do some backing so that you can get whatever you need?
I would say like I do have like a connect with immigration, but I still paid and followed the legal process, of course. But you have to. It's like literally no other really choice besides hiring an immigration specialist or a lawyer. And I was connected with a lawyer who helped me, but without that lawyer, if I just would have went on the website and paid $1,200 and submitted my application, it just would have sat there. So you have to pay a lawyer or pay a specialist.
What? There is this phrase where, especially for me as a Kenyan, it doesn't matter what you know. What matters is who you know and what that who you know can do for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So are there some opportunities and career chances that you have been able to come across here in Kenya?
I would say being able to collaborate with amazing people like you
is
a huge benefit. Yes.
Okay.
I would say that's been the biggest benefit, which is something that I didn't have living in other countries.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially in countries where there may be a bit of a language barrier. Like I'm not completely fluent in Portuguese, so it wasn't always easy, to collaborate with Brazilians, even though Brazilians are great people. Yeah.
Wow. Has it? You being here in Kenya, has it eased your way of life and navigations, especially whereby you don't need to explain yourself too much, you don't need to get worried that I'm going to experience some language barriers or something of the sort?
I would say definitely I had ease of mind when it came to the language barrier, because after living in Latin America for almost 5 years, I was just over it. Over like waking up every day and struggling to like understand or communicate, whether that be Spanish or Portuguese. So living in Kenya and Nairobi is definitely like a relief in that aspect. I can connect with so much more people and, like I said, collaborate with people, network, being able to speak English. And of course I am learning Swahili, of course.
Nice.
So I'm learning pole pole. So I have a teacher teaching me that. And I would say the language barrier did improve. So that was a huge plus.
Wow. So on that note, have you built like a little community that helps you on your day-to-day activities and navigations and things of the sort?
I would say I have community, I have friends. There's also communities like to help people transition here, and I also have been building community with the local Kenyans and immersing myself in that culture as well. I will say making friends, especially as an adult, is not easy.
Yes.
It takes time, but I do have some budding friendships, which is amazing.
How is there also a community of African American that you have managed to build here in Nairobi?
I would say not only African Americans. No, I'm not a part of any communities that are only African American.
Oh, yeah.
I would say I'm a part of a community of just like, it's called Black Foreigners, which has Haitians, Nigerians, Dominicans, so, and of course African Americans, Panamanians. So it's like more Caribbean people, Africans from other countries, people from the diaspora, like just to help each other like settle in and stuff like that.
Wow. So would you like advise someone who is thinking of leaving the US and relocating here to Kenya, either to sell their properties or leave them as a security, just in case when they come here the life does not treat them the way they want to or they wanted to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say personally, I am somewhat of a real estate investor, so I wouldn't recommend selling an asset unless you absolutely have to. I would say avoid selling your assets until you're at least fully settled in and fully integrated into your new country. But yes, I would say you need a substantial amount of savings. I wouldn't recommend anyone moving to Kenya without having at least $10,000. And that will disappear within like a few months, I promise. And then $10,000 and a constant stream of income. if you don't have a constant stream of income and you want to move to Kenya and just open a business and do your own thing, you would need at least, I would say, $150,000 in capital. To register a business in Kenya, you would need $150,000 plus moving here and integrating and getting your business up and running.
Would you like to elaborate more on that, whereby you need to have a certain amount of money? It's not that that is the actual amount of money that you're supposed to have. Maybe is that the minimum, or so that people can get to understand. Is 10,000 the minimum or the maximum, or that's the amount of money that I'm supposed to have so that I can be able to settle, start a business, and maybe navigate my day-to-day life in Kenya?
Yeah, I would say, like, if you have a remote job, for example, and you have that constant stream of income from your remote job, then I would say you would only need $10,000 or so, because foreigner costs are more expensive. I think that if you come here with 10K, that would be enough to find an apartment in a neighborhood that you can probably live in without getting culture shock, with things that you're used to, a similar lifestyle that you're used to. Because most apartments ask for 2-month deposit, 1-month rent.
Of course, that's definitely how it's done. Even me as a Kenyan, if I go to get a new apartment, 2 months deposit and 1 month rent. But also sometimes you can try and negotiate.
So if you need 2 months deposit, 1 month rent, if you have to furnish your apartment, that's gonna be, furniture is expensive here. That's gonna be maybe $2,000 to get couch, refrigerator, microwave, even a stove sometimes. Like, they don't provide these things for you. You have to buy your own refrigerator, your own washer. In the United States, they provide the microwave, washer, stove, so they need to be prepared to buy those type of things, which is what they don't think about, because we're used to apartments having washers and dryers and refrigerators.
Okay. You find it simple, so be like, I'm just going to get an apartment, and you with a perception of like, okay, whenever I go there, I get an apartment, it has all things. But when you come here and be like, I'm just given an empty apartment without these things.
And I would say it's interesting because it's very easy to get an apartment here, but then you have to furnish it completely. In the United States, it can be a bit complicated to get an apartment, but then it does come with like a refrigerator and sometimes a washer and dryer. So it's like there's pros and cons on both sides.
Wow. How expensive or inexpensive have you found our country here?
Yes, I would say that depends on your lifestyle. I think that I have come to terms with the fact that maybe I have expensive taste.
Of course.
So I think I have a little bit of expensive taste, but I would say that I do save like maybe about 50% to 40% compared to the United States. Like if I were to live this same lifestyle in the United States, like I would probably be saving up to 40%. But so that is, a privilege, and I do understand that is a privilege. But I will say, as foreigners, things are not very cheap for us the same way they would be for Kenyans who know how to navigate the system, of course. Even if I did live in a bedsitter or something, that probably would be a bit of a culture shock for me. Even though you probably can find an apartment for $50 or $75 or something, that would be a bit of a culture shock.
Are there some challenges that you have faced as a woman, trying to navigate your day-to-day life here in Kenya?
That is a great question. I would say not on my day-to-day life, but I would say my first year, I did have to learn. I had to learn how to navigate a new culture, a new society, and that came with its like ups and downs and surprises.
Okay. Tell us more about that. Okay.
I would say, what's something that shocked me? I would say
the matatu.
I would say the matatus were fun. I actually took a matatu from Nairobi to Addis Ababa. And that was fun. But a few different matatus.
Also, matatu cannot be like a huge culture shock because you're used to backpacking and using the matatu. So that was so easy for you. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. But I would say nothing extreme. I guess I can't think of anything extreme, but just everyday like challenges. I would say
protest,
or like in general, or like related to being a woman.
Just generally, and also
Okay.
like being a woman in a different society that you're not used to.
Right. I don't think that there were any extreme culture shocks. Just trying to understand. I think, like you said, the mandamanos, the protests, understanding the political, like
Grounds,
beliefs,
yes.
political grounds. That was something I needed to educate myself on. Just in order to be properly informed. Like as a foreigner living here, like you have to be aware of the social issues and not be a part of the problem. Yeah.
Wow. So there is this one thing that has been on my mind constantly as we have these conversations. From the 1st of August, I see that the African Americans, now who call them, we are African Americans who are born there, they have lived there for so many years, and the Africans who have gone there to start their businesses, that the African American society is going to boycott the African businesses. What is your take on that? How have you come across that?
Yes, I actually came across that a few days ago, and I think that it's just interesting to see the dynamics on social media, because that's not exactly a very clear indicator of relationships on the ground.
Okay.
Like, even on social media, I've seen people comment like, this fighting is ridiculous because like, we're friends in real life.
You never find Chinese and Chinese fighting because of business.
So it's just like, I don't know, things get like exacerbated on social media, and it gets really like bad, So I did see the boycott, and of course I don't agree with it, but I think that it's just tensions on both sides.
Yes.
Both sides wanting to be understood, pushing their own narrative, and a lot of miscommunication and a lot of like pain that has been built up over decades, because of course if you immigrate to a new country, you're going to like have your own understanding,
of course,
or maybe you're hearing things about like another group of people in your hometown, and you go to that country with like a certain bias or a certain perception, and it's just like that causes cultural divides.
Yes. Wow. Okay, that's your understanding and perception on whatever is happening in the state, but maybe sometimes, as you have said, that things can be exaggerated and it creates some tension and out of diversity or whatever. What are your future outlooks back in Kenya or here?
I would say I would like to continue settling down, continue buying some furniture. Like, furniture is so expensive, but I'm trying to furnish like my whole apartment, and continue like collaborating and just building a network, building community. That's the plan.
That's the plan. So depending on how you have phrased that statement, so you're looking to permanently settle here.
Yes, I am permanently settled. I have an apartment, with furniture that I bought. Like, my furniture is not going anywhere. So yeah, I'm permanently settled here, and I would like to be here. And I'm also a full-time student.
Oh,
yes.
What are you studying, if you don't mind?
International business.
Okay,
I think that fits, my lifestyle.
Yeah, that fits your lifestyle.
Yes, international business.
How do you hope to grow personally and professionally here in Kenya?
Yeah, so one thing that I really love about Kenya is that it's given me an opportunity to kind of slow down and focus on skills that I've been wanting to focus on. Like, I've been wanting to get into animation. Right now I'm learning like 2 languages, learning an instrument, I would like to learn golf. There's so many skills that I would like to learn that have been on my mind for so long, but now I have a little bit more time and like the resources and access to them, especially now that I'm in a country that speaks English. So I'm really excited to just build skills, build my career, and deepen like my relationships and like continue immersing in the culture.
Yes, because do you feel like you are with whatever your ambition are? Do you feel like it's easier for you to access everything that you want here in Nairobi without looking, okay, I wish I was here, I wish I was there so that I can get? Do you think like Nairobi has given you the ground to access everything?
Yes, I would say like everything that I need, 100%. All of my needs are in Nairobi or in Kenya.
Perfect.
My wants, like I would say, the only thing that is hard to navigate is the high import taxes. If I do want to order something online, because you know Americans, you probably heard of Amazon. We love online shopping. We love even in other countries, but importing something in Kenya is very, very expensive. That's the only thing that's hard to navigate. But other than that, Nairobi definitely has everything I need.
Because I have heard people saying that, okay, whenever you're in Nairobi, you don't need to look in the next city or in the next town for something. Everything that you need is around here.
And I'm still discovering so many things.
Yes, Nairobi, I also miss Nairobi sometimes surprises me because I can go to a place and be like, wait, hold on, am I still in Nairobi?
Right.
So what about someone who has come to
Exactly.
Nairobi? We have not mentioned about our food here in Kenya. How is our food? How is our food?
Napenda chapati, napenda mandazi, samaki.
Nice.
So yeah, I like some of the foods. I love the fish. I love like the wet fried chicken.
Wow.
Yes. I love coconut fish. Street food like smocha, you know. Yes, so I like that type of food. So.
Have you had a chance like to explore more cities or more towns in Kenya, or you have just been, in Nairobi?
Yes, I've been to Kisumu, Mombasa, and I hope to explore some new cities very soon. In Nairobi, Samburu.
You've been to Samburu.
Yeah, so I think that's it for now, but that's changing very soon.
Very soon.
I have a trip coming up.
At least now you're taking things slow and
Yes,
getting to move
exactly.
at your own pace without, the rush and, everything of the sort. What legacy would you like, or are you going to live or build here in Kenya, since now you have been like, okay, I'm going to permanently settle here in Kenya?
Yeah, I would like to just continue bridging that gap, the gap of misunderstanding, or just not knowing, the gap of ignorance on both sides, and continue to immerse myself in the culture, and also sharing the beautiful side of Africa, the beautiful side of Kenya that people may not be exposed to. Because as a content creator, sometimes you do forget about the impact that you're having, but people do tell me this is really needed, you're helping more than you even know, and comments like that really keep me motivated. I am making an impact and inspiring people to consider Africa as home, especially people in the diaspora, which is needed just to break that the stereotypes and the stigma and the miscommunication.
You have said something that is very, very crucial, because that was my next question. If you were to advise a young Black American girl or boy who was born in the States, doesn't know more about Africa, but you help him or her to understand there is another continent whereby your ancestors were dragged and put in chains and boats and taken to America. That's why you're here. How would you explain to that kid that Africa is a continent and you need to understand and get to connect with it, so that you can understand the disconnect that you have been having since you were born here and you don't understand more about Africa?
Yes, I would just tell them that we're stronger together. There's a reason why divide and conquer was so successful for centuries. There was the powers that be has divided and conquered us because they know that we're stronger together. And I would just tell them that, like I said earlier, it is a privilege to reconnect with your roots and to understand that you had a life before the settlers came, before colonization. You had indigenous land, indigenous practices, and it is a pleasure to be able to reconnect with that.
So they need to come out of their comfort zone and research about Africa and get to know.
Yes, definitely.
If for the culture is in Africa, I'm also able to go to Africa and get to learn more about my culture and everything of the sort. What is your advice to, let me just, before that, what are some of the things that you wished you knew before you came to Kenya?
I wish I would have known about the visa process because and I think I wish I would have known that it wasn't very cheap.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
because that is people. Nairobi will, chop your money off. Like Nairobi is expensive. It can be expensive depending on your lifestyle.
Yes.
And I just wish I would have known that I would be welcomed with open arms. Just to make my anxiety a little less. Because when you're moving to a new continent, you do have a little anxiety. But if I would have known I was going to be welcomed like this, then I would have felt a lot more, at ease.
Nice.
Yes.
So, what is your advice to African Americans who are looking to come and settle here in Africa, maybe permanently or partially, or come to visit?
Yeah, I would say start with the visit. It doesn't have to be a full move like your first time. Start with a visit, an investigative visit, an exploratory visit. Let your guard down, connect with people. Don't be scared to talk to people, and you will see for yourself that everything that we were taught is just not true. Yeah. Because once you visit, you're probably already going to be inspired to move here.
Of course, course. Because, a lot of African Americans who I've met, some of them be like, oh, you know what, I just came to visit here in Kenya, but right now I own an apartment, I'm running a business. Some of them
sucks you in.
Yeah, and most people come here because they want to go for a safari. But whenever you come here and you get to interact with the people, you forget that you're supposed to go for a safari, and you'll be like, you know what, I might settle here. I might, decide to, move here and do everything of the sort. So, what is your last regard as we wind up, and what would you want the world to know about Africa?
Yes, I want the world to know that Africa is the future. Africa has been the reason that most of these Western countries have even been able to sustain themselves. Actually, all of them. I mean, it's history, it's facts, right? They take resources from Africa because they know that Africa is the future. So why is the diaspora scared to return? It doesn't make any sense. There's so many other people here enjoying it, thriving. It's time for the diaspora to thrive on the continent as well.
Wow. Wow. So let people know where they can find you, and if you're willing to help people to come back to Africa, if you can be able to do that for them.
Okay, yes. So my YouTube channel is For the Culture, the number 4, The Culture. That's also the same on TikTok, Instagram, and also Facebook. I have a Facebook page, For the Culture. I also have a digital marketing agency, Pixel. So I do virtual assisting, and I am, building that up. It's a tech startup. So please follow me on Pixel Talk Solutions, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X now, and Facebook as well.
Yeah. So guys, that has been an insightful tete, as I may call it, or a banter with my friend here For the Culture. And I hope some of your answers have been answered, because most of you are running away from Africa to go to chase the American dream. But you can see someone has lived the American dream, and they have decided to chase the African dream, and they are saying that Africa is the future, and things are not flowing west, they are flowing east.
Yes, definitely.
So make sure to leave a comment down and tell us, how has the conversation been? Have you enjoyed? What have you learned? And if you really want to visit Africa, I do organize trips for Africa, for people who are traveling to Africa, not just foreigners. I also do local tours.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, you can reach me out on the number on the description, or maybe reach out on my Instagram, and I'll make sure I organize for you the trips that you really want. So I think this is the end of today's episode, and if you want to see the second part, or maybe you would want to see another part with my guest here, let me know, and I'ma make it happen for you guys. So adios, I'ma see you on the next episode. Ciao ciao.